Is there any angle here that you think is worth exploiting?
Look, I think the U.S. is an incredible value here. I really do. Jenks, I know what you're talking about with the Dutch. You know, they have
Yeah.
a good run, but here's the thing. They're not the Dutch team that finished third at the 2014 World Cup. They're not the same Dutch team that made it to the final of 2010. We had a colleague of ours from ESPN Netherlands on our show. You mentioned Football Americas last night. They're very, very pessimistic, even more so. And he said, look, that's culturally how the Dutch are. But he said,
Yeah.
they're actually turning off the TV in Netherlands because of how this team is playing. The ratings have gone down game to game to game in the World Cup. And you never see that in a footballing nation. So they are not impressed with this Dutch team. It doesn't have the firepower of old. And they have a lot of players who are not right now in the elite level. You mentioned they have one of the best players in the world. You're probably talking about Virgil van Dijk. You got another guy, Frankie de Jong. These guys play for big clubs. But there's only like two guys. You know, they got 5 or 6 guys that play for Ajax in the Dutch league, which is a good level, but not the elite level in their starting lineup. And they have some players who you're saying, that guy's good enough to make the Dutch league? Like the Dutch team, really? Like that dude doesn't make the team in 2014. That dude doesn't make the team in 2010. So I think it's important to acknowledge this is not, you know, your grandfather's Netherlands of the 70s that invented total football and, you know, used to make it to finals of World Cups as if it was, you know, nothing for them. So I think this US team also matches up very well. We talked about how young they are. That means you're athletic. If you watch how Netherlands plays, they like to slowly ping it around. I think that's one of the reasons Dutch fans are turning their TV off. They call it boring. This U.S. team is going to press them. They're going to make this Dutch team uncomfortable. And I think there's going to be some opportunities for the United States early in this game. So I really like the U.S. You said plus 325. I think that's a good value. If you want a little bit more safety, you can get them to advance at around plus 170, 160. That means they would get through either on penalties or an extra time. And I really like the U.S. there. I actually think there will be goals in this game. I think that the Dutch defense is not as good as maybe people think it is. Virgil van Dijk is this great player. He has a great reputation. He had an injury a couple years ago. I don't think he's the same guy, and he's the leader of that back line. And I like this U.S. team. I like how they're playing. I think they've been unlucky not to score more. So I think there could very well be some goals in this game. And I think the U.S. defense has maybe overperformed, right? Over-delivered. If we look at kind of how many goals they've conceded versus what they actually are, what their level actually is, they'll be tested more than they have at any other point in this tournament. I don't know what Christian Pulisic's to score odds are, but he's your guy here. Anytime score, I think hammer Pulisic again. He's the most goal dangerous guy. He's also the penalty kick taker for the U.S., so that's going to be a huge factor in his favor. And then I think Timothy Weah is another guy to look at as an anytime scorer from an American perspective. From a Dutch perspective, it's Gary Gakpo, okay? He's got 3 goals so far in the tournament. He's an aerial threat. It's Gakpo, so you can find him there in your anytime scores. He would be a very good bet as well.